Here we are at another episode of Io Che Centro. This episode is going to be in English as well, as we're going to do a second episode regarding the situation in Iran with the United States, Israel being involved. Here with us, there is John, again, a recurring guest. And let's start right away, right after the intro. Maybe with you, John, explaining what has happening over the last week or so, okay?
Ultimatum ad Hamas.
Gaza sta bruciando.
Intorno a Taiwan.
Trump torna all'attacco.
Sistema satellitare Starlink.
Io che c'entro, il podcast.
So the floor to you, John. Can you tell us what are the latest updates and what has been happening over the last couple of weeks?
So over the last couple of weeks, as they always say, the bombardments, let's say, have been intensifying across Iran. I think it's mostly because they want to leverage them into a peace deal, an unrealistic peace deal, let's say, that I will talk about later on. But more or less, they've jointly hit more than 15,000 targets across all of Iran, which has prompted the Iranian government to basically start talking, or as it's rumored, to start negotiations in Pakistan, or I don't know where in the region, with the United States. And on top of Iran, there's also the Lebanese problem at the moment, where you have more than 1 million displaced Lebanese people across the country. 1 million people that have fled from the south, from Dahye, and from a lot of the regions south of the Litani River, and also from Beirut. You had a lot of missiles being intercepted, some that actually were intercepted above my city, actually 500 meters away from where I live, back in Lebanon. And this has prompted a new start of the war, let's say, where you didn't normally see these attacks in some of these regions, which now maybe it expands further. And you also find more Israeli troops pushing more forward in the south to implement more strongholds that they are calling to counter Hezbollah in a faster pace, let's say, in the country. And most importantly as well, or most importantly for the world, let's say, crude oil has jumped significantly. At least today it jumped around 5%. The barrel more or less is $104, $105 as we speak. And next week, I'm theorizing that it might reach 110, maybe even more. So it would cause a huge panic, let's say, in the world.
Yeah. We get to talk about the economic impact that the situation, the operation in Iran is having across the globe, I would say, right? But first, let me say one thing, John. I hope everyone from your country, your region, is doing well. This situation is not impacting any one of your relatives or friends, or even people you got to spend time with in your past, or people might have spent time with in the past. It's sad, but we're gonna spend time talking about the reasons why it's happening, right? And so on. Cool. Another topic that has happened is the bombardment of nuclear facilities. We will also spend some time discussing it. Maybe I'll leave the floor to you, Zio, if you want to say something about it.
I would like to actually talk about what happened in your city, John, because this, for once, shows again that Israel is expanding his operation. He's actually expanding his operation, maybe not only in places where Hezbollah has known to be hiding, Can you talk us a little bit about this? Is Hezbollah operating in your city?
No, it's not. It's operating north, and it's right now, because it's been pushed really outside of its typical territory, let's say the south and the Dahya region. It is operating all over Lebanon, also in the Bekaa Valley, Bekaa Valley, as we say it in Arabic, which is more let's say, east. But it was theorized that they were targeting the American embassy somewhere. We think it was Hezbollah or Iran. No official reports have come out that it was Hezbollah from the Biqa, and they were targeting something, but I think they were targeting the United States embassy. There's no target in that
Okay.
region as high of a value, and the Israelis intercepted it right above the skies of Kfar Debian, which is in the Isreal region, which is from where I'm from, and it fell. It fell near some cities and some streets that I, let's say, frequent a lot. But this is not
So,
the big story.
would you say that the way in which Israel carries on with this war is like a little bit like the previous wars that Israel has been involved with, and I mean that they operate in a reckless way. They target everywhere, bomb everywhere. They have zero regards for the population that they are impacting. Would you agree that this is a characteristic trait of Israel?
It is, and actually, the prime minister yesterday, the former prime minister, I was watching him on Piers Morgan. He mentioned that if you are holding a Hezbollah operative, you will get bombed. And listen, what happened in my city, let's say, has not been a direct hit because they didn't really mean to hit it. They hit one, intercepted the missile. Okay, these things happen. It's fine, but I see it as a two ways, let's say, as a glass half full and a glass half empty. Because from one reason, from one side, why the hell are you bombing Israel from northern regions? We did not want this war. We don't want anything to do with your war. This is not a Lebanese-Israeli war. This is a Hezbollah Israeli war, and we have nothing to do with it. And for us to get affected, for some people I know, some of my friends that I frequent our church and some events with, to have their house broken and destroyed because of something that they didn't want, the Lebanese government condemned. They told them, Hezbollah, don't get in this war, and they did. I see it from that side as their fault. At the same time, I see it from a different point of view, which is that the prime minister basically said that not Netanyahu, the one before him, I forgot, he was bald, but he basically said that we have three, and he said on Piers Morgan, and I quote, you have three solutions. We can either do nothing and let these people do whatever they want, which is obviously not the solution for them to take, or we can bomb the living shit, let's say, out of everyone in the region, and we don't care whether it's civilians or not. We bomb them. The threat is gone.
And which one do you support? Which one?
No. Let me get to the third one. This is what he could do. He can basically drop a nuclear bomb. Of course, he wouldn't because he would affect themselves as well. But he can drop a big bomb in every city. He clears everything, no more problem. Very easy fix. And then they have the third one, which is they tell people where they're gonna hit, why they're gonna hit, etc., etc. And then civilians have to take into account to get it moving, and they're displacing themselves. And this is basically what happened with the 1 million Lebanese people. They were so afraid that any second the warning would come on their phone that, oh, please evacuate, and they would evacuate. Now, the biggest storyline or headline, I'd say, is the fact that, okay, it starts with, let's say, with my city that's intercepted above my sky. Who's to say it won't happen again? Who's to say it won't happen in some cities that have chosen to not take part in this war? Because really, we have in the Lebanese history, in my lifetime, maybe 4 or 5 wars I've experienced. And so my dad's lifetime, who was around 65, he's experienced 7 to 8 wars. How many more wars does the Lebanese population need to endure? It's not okay. It's not something that any person should endure.
Yeah, I agree. But so side casualties, they are gonna happen. They have happened already. So the question is, and maybe I'm asking you, Euge, how long do you think this war is still going to carry on? Do you think that America is near reaching his objective? Do you think Israel has reached his objective?
So I think like what we are hearing right now, it's controversial opinion, right? Across all sides. And also, since we last spoke about the situation, we were able to understand closely, a little bit closer, I would say, what are the real objectives of the parties at stake, right? So, how long is it gonna last? It seems like from the United States, they are saying that the negotiations are already starting with the Iranian side, At the same time, they are saying that if the negotiation do not go further, then the Iranians will pay a very heavy price. They are also ready to send about 1,000 paratroopers in the region, which is a massive mobilization, considering, let's say, the statements that were made a few weeks back, right, with no foot on the ground and no involvement directly. But on the other side, the Iranians are actually denying any type of negotiations or talk happening with the United States. They keep on focusing on the existential reasons for them to maintain the regime in power, and that there is never going to be any chance to displace the current regime. And then the Israeli is kind of reinforcing the United States statement, but at the same time playing more aggressive than them, but not with talks. Trump is good with talks, right? Trump can say very tough and direct things, but Netanyahu is actually doing it on the action. They have bombarded multiple facilities in Iran. They have threatened energy infrastructure, which would create massive problems for the population, the civilian population. We're talking about access to water, electricity, that basically are essential utilities, right, for the civilians. And
which is war crimes, by the way. Yeah,
which is
let's
classified
just
as war
call
crime.
things.
That's
Yeah.
that is true. And they keep on targeting the heads of or the leadership of the Iranian army, right? Just today, they killed the leader of the Iranian Navy, and that's the one who actually was in charge of the block in the canal, right?
Mhm.
So that's one thing to consider. I think to answer your question, how long is going to last? I think Trump will lose credibility soon if he doesn't put an end to it. How he's gonna do it is probably just proclaim that there has been an agreement on how to end the war. Might be true, might be not. But at the end of it, if it does last too long, then I don't think it's gonna be positive for the United States and the Israeli side. I think actually the Iranian side might benefit from it instead.
And it's not going to be good, especially for Trump, I think. And what I think it's happening is that Israel is carpet bombing everything because they know that the time is running out. They are trying to hit everything that they can because Trump really is scrambling to get out of this because he really understood that he's losing all his credibility over this war. So Israel is trying to do the maximum damage before the war ends because they know that their ally is going to pull out of this war very soon. And I want to add something about the talks, the supposed talks that are happening. I mean, there are only two options to this. Either Trump is stupid and he thinks he's negotiating with someone while he's not negotiating he's not talking to anybody. Or Trump is super weak because Iran thinks that they can negotiate with him, but still on the world stage lie and take advantage of him and like joke on him. So in both ways, Trump is really, really not only losing his credibility, he's losing his aura of a strong man. He's really losing everything that he had until this point.
Go ahead.
Please.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead. Respond
I just
to
have a
it.
small point on this, right? Because the Iranians said that what the US and Trump said is fake news. They literally said it. But they said that their goal is actually to prolong the war. So their point is, by saying that negotiations are ongoing, what Trump is actually getting is a softening of the harsh economic conditions because the market will respond positively to the fact that negotiations are ongoing. So prices have indeed decreased for a little bit, and there has been a increase on S&P 500 index and so on and so forth. And this allows the US to actually continue for longer because they can soften the impact of the war for a few days before having to face it again. So that's one point. Go ahead.
Honestly, Domenico's ability to judge and to label Trump as a stupid person has to be studied, because no one has ever been way more off than he is when he has. He always sees it as stupid. He never sees it as positively smart, or maybe he's cooking something. The guy's been in office for 5-6 years and he still sees him as a stupid person. I'll start with this point first of all. Why have the talks? Is exactly for what you were saying, because people were like, "Oh, you're so brutal, you're hitting them, etc., etc." He shows the world that he's trying to negotiate with them. He gives them a completely irreasonable list that they will not agree to, because if you read the list, or at least the hypothesized list, and I'll read it for you, I have it here. He said, nuclear program permanently dismantled. They won't agree. Let's say they do agree. Missile capabilities, we don't want or limit them. They will not agree. Axis of resistance, Hezbollah to go outside, for example, Houthis not to be funded, no one to be funded. They will not agree.
Yeah.
Because these are the people that they consider at this point their kids or their cousins or I don't know what. Freedom of navigation of the Strait of Hormuz, maybe they might agree because eventually the whole world needs it. Last but not least, he implicitly said, it's not in the points, that he wants statements by Trump to take the people to take over part of the government, which the Iranian regime will not agree. Okay, let's look at the Iranian counterproposal, which they, let's say, theorized that they want immediate and permanent removal of all the UN and US sanctions. Not going to happen. Reparations. They want the damages that the US did to them. They wanted them to pay it back. You think the US spent I don't know how much so far. I'll get to the numbers now. Actually, after done with my point, you think they're going to go pay them back? You don't destroy a sandcastle and then rebuild it, and then destroy it again and rebuild it. You don't do that. They're not going to pay them back. Use this money because they're going to use the money to rebuild more rockets. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Well, but US citizens are already paying, so
they are, but they're paying. I'll show you the numbers 1 second. And then they want regional ceasefire. They want a wider agreement that protects Hezbollah and the Iranian interests in Lebanon and outside. Hezbollah has been a red flag for years for the Israeli government. They will never agree. If they do agree, Israel will still wipe them out. Israel is still going to continue the war regardless of what's going to happen. And I'll get to the point of the financials. First 6 days, they spent $11.3 billion, the US. 12 days, 16.5. The 30 days, more or less, should be theorized at 43 billion. 129 billion for the 90 days. And the IRGC has mentioned that they can maybe sustain it for 6 months. They would need to spend 259 billion. You really think the IRGC can handle, the US doesn't have 259 billion to target the IRGC? You think the country that next year is going to vote on a $1.5 trillion military, let's say, support package or budget doesn't have $260 billion to fund this war? You really think they're losing it? And I'll read another.
This is what they were saying about Russia, and we are 4 years later. So
Russia. Look, the problem is you didn't have. Russia is a different situation. Russia and Ukraine is a different situation. They're half a foot in, half a foot out.
But they both have a stupid leader, so there is a similarity.
Whatever they have, I'm not here to argue about whatever they have.
Let's not go again out of topic.
But I'll read more data. Let me just find it for you just 1 second, because I was reading about the data about how many people they hit, which country got hit the most, and actually it's the UAE who got hit the most. It's around 47% of the ballistic missiles were from the UAE, were hitting the UAE, and the rest is distributed. Only 12 or 12.5% have been targeting Israel. So you really think they're just hitting the countries nearest to them because they don't have any more the capabilities to reach Israel, And it was theorized that they have around 500 missile launchers. Only 340 have been destroyed. So you still have around 160, if not a bit less, because it was 470 missile launchers. Still have 120, 130, let's say, missile launchers yet to be destroyed. You really think in the next 9 months they cannot find them? You know how fast you can find the heat source of a missile, even if they hide it in a mountain, B-2 bomber. So the U.S. is not losing this war. The U.S. is not even close to losing this war. If the Iran strategy is to prolong it, they can prolong it as well, because the only problem would be the markets, how they would react, and I'm sure they'll find a solution. They freed Venezuela for a reason.
I think what you're saying is true, in a sense that the US is doing excellently well on the ground. Militarily, what we are seeing in Iran is something that should kind of shock us, I would say, in Europe, because we need to be honest with ourselves. We'll never be able to replicate anywhere, in any case. We are not that capable. We are not that precise, and we are not that fast when it comes to our military operations. So when you see the coordination that Israel and the United States are demonstrating in the Middle East, we need to acknowledge that they are actually a few steps ahead compared to us as Europeans. I would not discuss others, but I agree with John on that point. However, I think the war can get lost for the United States, but it's not going to be lost militarily. It's not going to be lost financially. Of course, the United States can raise debt and finance this war for ages to come. But the problem is that there are extreme pressuring deadlines in front of Trump, and he needs to face them no matter what. And those are mostly political and social in nature. First of all, there is the affordability crisis in the United States. The prices of the oil have shot up to $5 to $6 per liter. So consumers are actually bearing the cost and are already starting to complain quite heavily. Of course, there is consequences hitting the entire economy, right? Because everything is based on top of energy. We said it last time as well. But most importantly, there is the midterm elections, and soon means like 1 or 2 months from now, the parties, the Democrats and the Conservatives will need to start doing their propaganda, let's say, like campaigning for the midterm. And right now, it's going to be extremely hard for conservative candidates, representatives that want to run for the elections, to respond to questions related to the Iran war, because the communications that are coming out from the White House are, I would say, changing too often. And then the members of the party are struggling to keep up. They do not really know what is happening. They do not really know what Trump really wants. They do not really know why the Peter Hegseth or Marco Rubio or Donald Trump, they always say different things, and they cannot handle this situation.
It's on purpose. It's on purpose. You never tell your enemy what you're gonna do. You
Yeah, but the problem is that I agree with you. There must be purpose behind the scenes, but there are people that will need to campaign for the Conservative Party in the US, and when they do, they're gonna get asked questions about the situations, and most of the time cannot handle it.
You are being too polite, because if the situation is this, they are gonna have a super easy time campaigning, a super easy time, because literally. Okay, but wait, I wanna just say something about the sanctions, okay? Because we have to assume, as John says, that Trump is not stupid. Okay, let's say Trump is not stupid, so he's a smart person, okay? What happened? Happened that after this war, during this war, it happened that the prices of oil in the United States went crazy high. Okay, so the MAGA people, who are the people who are working, so the base that voted for Trump, they are working people. They are driving cars every day, and they started to notice that the oil was super high. So what did Trump do? He removed the sanctions on oil from Iran. So he's bombing a country, but then he's removing sanctions to the same country because he needs to keep the oil prices low. So he's smart, but he's a clown. He's a total clown. he's bombarding a country on which he removed sanctions, which he placed on this country to obtain the same objective for which today he's doing war. Makes no sense. Makes no
He
sense.
removed the sanctions as well from Russia, right?
Yeah,
So, but in
also.
any case, let me ask you this, right? The MAGA people are bearing the consequence of the war. They see rising prices, that's true. But we have also seen prominent figures within the MAGA movement, like for instance Tucker Carlson and other members, that have completely turned their face to Trump and his supporters because of this war in Iran. And the reason is very simple. It's because they have campaigned, both Trump and J.D. Vance, on never starting a war in the Middle East again, never put our troops there. So what do you guys think is happening with very big people like Tucker Carlson, who has millions and millions of people following him, right? And actually, we have seen also chairmen of the Defense Department and so on, like resigning from their post and things of that sort.
He's starting
So
to losing pieces.
what do you think is happening over there, and would that be probably the end of?
I'll
No,
let John reply. Yeah, because
no. He said he's losing pieces. I think it's a rebuild. I think the war in the Middle East was needed. At least let's look at it like this. The Saudi Crown Prince also called up Trump and told him, "Don't stop the war on Iran, please. Finish the IRGC because we need peace in the Middle East." Why? Because if there is peace in the Middle East, okay, you can bear some oil prices now of 110, but if there's peace in the Middle East, the barrel goes really go down, like lower than it's ever going to be, because then you have all of these countries, they don't have to worry about Iran or the IRGC. And I think we consume different media because to me, a lot of the MAGA people, and trust me, I have them on some Insta just because I see them, all of them, they start posting videos and they're like, I think we can handle a bit of the oil increase at the moment if it means in the future we will have it at a cheaper price. And that's the whole reasoning, honestly. Think about it. Right now you finish from the IRGC. Who's going to come instead of him? Who's going to come instead of the government? Who's going to come instead of all of that? Sorry, I'm speaking in Lebanese. Already the IRGC does not use their oil capabilities to their fullest extent. They spend the money that they make building bombs and rockets and ways to hurt other countries. Say you get a country like Iran, which has, I think, the third or the second largest oil reserves in the world. I think it's the third after Saudi, and the first is Venezuela. You give them more money to drill more. Or you give it to the United States, or you give them as part of the United States. You give them, like Chevron can go drill there and start distributing. How low do you think the barrel will get? I think we can handle high oil prices at the moment if it means that all the regions that have been occupied by Iranian proxies, example, Yemen, Iraq, Lebanon, by the way, does have natural oil or natural gas, let's say, in our oceans, and basically oil, and Yemen and all these start drilling as well, or they become at least quarter of a prosperous country as much as other fellow Arabic countries. How low do you think the barrel will get?
Man,
This
nobody
is
can
what I
handle
mean.
high oil prices. All democracies have lost when the population
Yeah,
falls
but George
over
Bush
oil
did the
prices.
same thing. George Bush did the same thing, and then afterwards, look what happened. Look at history. History repeats itself no matter where you are. Russia stopped supplying oil, and Europe survived. Did it not? And Russia was the biggest provider of oil or natural gas, let's say, in all of Europe. And this is also a wake-up call to every country that is not producing gas or oil or whatever, or not extracting it, that can, like the UK, for example. They complain, and yet they have one of the largest reserves of oil on their shores. Go take your oil rigs that are rusted because you don't want to use them and start drilling. And then people will complain less. And then go to other countries that are trying to go green friendly. And
but why should we do that if America isn't even capable of removing the regime? What are they doing? If they don't remove the regime, what the hell are they doing?
They're just weakening it. You don't need to remove them. You weaken it, and then you see what happens.
Yeah, and come on,
Listen,
you're the biggest the world. It's 1 month, and you are planning for 9 months. Maybe they
You
need to
can
go
never
on.
you can never
Can
remove
they,
a regime from the
if they can
airspace.
win, they,
You cannot remove the regime from an airspace, and they don't want to deploy troops. They might only deploy troops to
then they
go
are
and
bombing for
remove.
fun, just for bombing.
They're bombing to stop future bombs, so that at least the people can be more like, let's
But
say,
if the regime is
independent.
still there, they will produce more bombs.
But
It's a
yeah,
total
okay,
waste of a war.
the regime will be there, but it's also about them losing their credibility. For example, now they don't know what they're doing. There's a huge miscommunication in the regime, and there's a reason for that, because they can't communicate anymore in a safe
But
manner.
okay. I want to talk about
So
something different. Unless you want to add something more to this point, because I have another point. Can I?
yeah, go ahead. If I have anything else, I'll say it.
Okay, I want to talk about the future of this war. So, what is America gonna do? Because they have a couple of options on the table. They are waiting for one of their flagships, which is now in Crete, because it underwent a fire on board, so they are fixing it. They are waiting for that, and then they are gonna be moving a lot of the fleet near the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. But what can they do? Because the Strait of Hormuz, actually, the coast of Iran of the strait is actually, there is a mountain region there. So they can hide launchers everywhere. And if you get near with your fleet, the most likely scenario is that you're gonna lose some ship, or at least you're gonna receive damages. There's nothing that can be done by a fleet in such a geographic region.
But that is why. Okay,
Mhm.
go ahead.
you have the
Finish your
B2.
point.
That is why you have the B2. I feel like that's what you want to say.
No.
That is why you have
I
the
was,
B2.
I was, no. I was, well, actually, what I was gonna say, that is why when Trump asked partners all over the world to support, um, uh, escorting the ships in the Strait of Hormuz, no one responded that call. It's extremely complex to do it, and it's for the reason you mentioned, but also because it's a image problem. If in either one of your ship gets hit, even if it's not a major hit, then you're gonna suffer a big problem internally. Like that's the issue. So I think no one is really happy of doing it, not even Trump. He probably will do it. He probably will do. I would agree with that. At a certain point, he will be forced to do it to show his strength. But if any of his ship is gonna get hit, he's gonna suffer a major blow. He's not gonna
Yep.
take it easy.
I think we're talking about it in that sense, but I think, of course, they have other reasons, or other, let's say, I wouldn't say other solutions, let's say, to how they will approach uh, taking these ballistic launchers out. I mean, they have the best technology in the world when it comes to the military. I think they will find a way, and if not, a land, not invasion, but a land, let's say, like what they did with operation, basically, like what they did with Maduro, could be on the table. I mean, you have to weigh the risks, you have to weigh everything, and then you have to do. But I have to condemn.
What about the island of Karg? Do you think they're gonna invade by land?
I don't know what they're gonna do with that. They mentioned they could. They mentioned they would not. And the thing is, now it's not about looking into that. Now it's about looking into what the world is actually gonna do regarding this. Everyone's complaining. Do something about it. I mean, yeah, you're not gonna convince them to stop the war because you're so sad that the oil prices is rising in your country. But wah. Okay, I mean, the U.S. maybe now it rises tomorrow. In 1 year, they get Venezuela up and running quickly, let's say, or Chevron gets it up and running. They're fine. What does Europe do? It goes to Trump and tells him, "Give us some oil." He'll tell them, "You didn't help me. I won't give you oil." Suffer. Wah. Like it's just like a childish game. Let's say. I think now is the time where the world, at least, not the world, but some powers unite, help him. At least not in the. You don't need to send Italians to Iran. Just do what they're suggesting, because they're telling you we don't want full help, just help in any sort of way, and then go for it. And even the Arab states, I think soon they'll have to intervene, because it is also damaging their economy. I mean, the United Arab Emirates intercepted 1,468 projectiles. The United Arab Emirates, every interception or interceptor missile is really expensive. So to
But
intercept this much,
so
you need something in return in the future.
let me say a couple of points very quickly on this, right? Indeed, the damage that is being caused in the Gulf region is going to be felt for years to come. Like the infrastructures that have been bombed in the UAE or in Saudi Arabia, they already mentioned that they will need to shut down production for at least 3 to 5 years from the day they got bombed. So imagine how big the impact is going to be over time. So that's true. And it's true also that at a certain point, someone will need to do something because you cannot keep creating this damage as everyone, every single citizen of every single country would actually feel the consequence of it. Like they are feeling it in China, they are feeling it in India, they are feeling it in Europe, they are feeling it in South America and in the US. So someone will need to do something. The problem why Europe, and that's my last point, doesn't do anything is the following, in my point of view, is because Trump approval rate in Europe is so low right now, but we're talking about is lower than 20% across the major EU5 countries. Like people in Italy, people in France, people in Germany, they cannot stand Trump. And if you do anything in favor or in partnership with Trump, you as a political entity, whatever your party is, your government is, you might lose support. And that's why everyone is freaking scared of doing anything in favor of Trump. They rather do find mediation like Merz is doing. I don't know if you guys have seen it recently. The president of the German Federation said publicly that the war is illegal, the US should have never intervened there, and so on, while instead the Chancellor Merz took a totally different point of view and said that instead they are looking to have peace as soon as possible. So it's very, like I would say, not sided opinion. But this is already happening. Like people are already going against the situation there, and everyone is too afraid to do anything in favor of Trump because otherwise they lose support at home. That's what I think.
John, do you want to say something about Europe? Otherwise, I give my opinion.
Frederick Merz said something very nice that I liked. It's not the time to lecture allies, and he supports objectives of weakening the regime. So at least Frederick Merz knows what's going on. I mean, you mentioned some names, India, etc. India's biggest enemy is Pakistan. Pakistan is allies with Iran. China is allies with Iran. A lot of the countries are against Iran. We have to understand here that really this is a pain in the ass of the world. Let's say Iran is really the pain in the ass of the world, of not just the Middle East, really the world. At least not Iran, because the Iranian people are really lovely. It's the regime. When you have people that go out on the street that are Iranians and they start when the Khamenei died and they start raising the Israeli flag, it tells you all you need to know. Honestly, I mean they're raising the Israeli flag, the flag that the country they are in or the country they are from is just keeps on saying they're the number one enemy. They are raising that flag. It tells you more than you need to know. And if I am to just to stick on point and to answer about Europe, which I'm sure you'll answer my question actually in detail. What do you do now if Trump backs out of Ukraine? What do you do right now if they move the support or aid from Ukraine to fight the Iranian regime? Then Europe, what is it gonna do? Can it handle the funds alone? I don't think it can, because it's 160 to 200 billion. I don't think it can. And even if it can, you are directly funding the war by allowing yourselves to buy Russian oil. So what's the point? So right now, everyone in Europe is like yourself, by the way. These 20% they like Trump, let's say, or they don't mind him, and then they have this 80% who really just hate him and they want him to die and blah 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 blah. Okay, fine. What do you do when this crisis hits? What do you do? Who do you rely on? Now tell me China. Now tell me Russia. Now tell me who. The U.S. historically has been your greatest ally. Stick with it. You're part of NATO. Half of the EU is with it. Stick with them. No need to send your troops. No one's asking you because they didn't ask you to join this war. But stick with them. and see where it will lead. If you keep opposing the man who is leader of the free world, you will get impacted. It's pure sense. It makes sense. I don't know why Europe. I don't need to be in the EU Parliament to tell them this.
Okay.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Can I have
So,
the honor of answering this
Please,
very heavy
yes,
question?
please, yes.
At a certain point, you need to be realistic. Of course, Iran is a pain. The regime, okay, is a pain in the ass for the entire world, also for Europe. But at least in Europe, we have something which is called decency. And decency means that if you know that there is a pain in the ass, but you are not capable of removing it, you stay put and you don't do anything. Because if you do something, you create only problems and you will not solve the original problem, okay? So we know in Europe that Iran is a pain in the ass, but what can we do? We can't do anything at the moment to remove it. What was the mistake of Trump, thinking that he instead was able, even if all his advisors were saying you are not able of removing this thing, he started it again. So in Europe, at least we have the decency of not starting something that we cannot finish. And I think that this is already a good point for Europe. Second point on Ukraine.
let's not talk about Ukraine, guys. We're gonna do an episode on it, but let's not talk about Ukraine.
No, but it's very quick. It's very quick because once what you okay, let's change the subject. Let's talk about Europe and the war in Iran. Actually, I think that what Eugenio said is super right. So the approval rate of Trump in the people of Europe, okay, the citizens, is super low. So what the country leaders are doing is actually very, very smart. What you can do is not getting involved into this war. Let Trump crash headfirst into a brick wall, destroy himself, because this is what he's doing. He's basically politically suiciding himself. And then after Trump is gone from the field, you have completely different situations. You have a Europe that suddenly becomes central in the negotiation with Russia about Ukraine. You have a Europe that suddenly becomes central in many, many more questions. Because until we have Trump here, who is, let's say, taking all the attention for himself, negotiations by the part of Europe are more difficult. But once Trump is gone, and it's going to be soon if Europe doesn't intervene, if nobody helps him, because he thought, now I'm going to start this war and everyone is going to look at me like it's the best thing that's happening in the world. Everybody needs to pay attention. But what's happening is actually the opposite. Nobody's caring about the war that is starting. And this is what making him weak. So I think that this is the strategy of Europe, waiting for Trump to go out and then starting taking the reins of the things. Does this answer your question, John?
No, because you mentioned being realistic, and you're not being realistic. The data shows that with Trump, every time someone goes out and says he's stupid since 2016 has proven the world that he's not. Every time someone says, Europe will gain the fruits of what Trump is doing because he's stupid, like with the, let's say, what do you call them? The tariffs, let's say. It showed the opposite. The US was gaining and Europe was losing. So I think it's time, and I'm a person who I deal with statistics. I like statistics. It's time to follow the map and to follow the numbers. The guy, most of the time, let's say 95% of the time, is correct. Now you're telling me, will I risk this 5% this time? Maybe yes, maybe no. But I'm gonna go with the other 95% of the time where the guy has been right, where the guy actually had a plan, and the guy had a good team, which historically he's proven that he does. And I'll see where it ends up. But I would not be like Europe, because Europe's problem is they always wait to see who comes out winning or losing, and then they join, but they join too late. And to me, now is not the time for that, honestly. Now is the time to join and reap the benefits of it after it's done. Maybe they can be part of the talks. Maybe they can reap some of the benefits of Iran. And I'm sorry, Eugene.
Let me say one point over here, right? So to what Domenico said, Europe, I believe Europe can indeed benefit from the situation, especially if what Domenico said holds true in the future, so that Trump is gonna get weakened, both internally and internationally, right? Now, however, the timing of Europe next move, strategically next move, let's say, needs to be perfect, because there is another player that is actually set to benefit even more than Europe, and that's China. And if we do not pay attention to it, then China's sphere of influence will increase so much that it will start acquire key players in the in the world, let's say, that actually Europe really need. And that's something Europe and the US, right? Let's say the Western world really need. And that's something that can be extremely, extremely dangerous. Like, for instance, South American countries, like, for instance, North African countries, and I would say Egypt, Libya, and all of these countries that are extremely close to Europe. So I think like that's one thing to consider. In any case, it's not only Europe, the US, and Iran, but there are many more players involved, I would say, long term. But let me, guys, actually ask you one point that is really, it seems funny, but it is not. So Pakistan was mentioned before, right? Pakistan has been a long-term ally of the Iran Republic, right? Islamic Republic of Iran. However, they are also a long-term ally, and they've signed a agreement with Saudi Arabia that basically says that in any case of war or military intervention, the other side must intervene in favor of them. So if Saudi Arabia will start declare war to Iran, actually Pakistan will be bound by joining Saudi Arabia against Iran. That's why Pakistan have started to propose themselves as mediators for the negotiation of peace. And let's not forget that Pakistan is a nuclear country. They have 170 warheads ready. So what do you think about that situation, if you have any thoughts about it? That's quite funny,
Well,
but Pakistan might be the reason why this mess gonna get resolved tomorrow.
well, I think that the nuclear weapons of Pakistan are all rusty. They won't even work. No, but I'm joking. I'm joking. I mean, from my point of view, if Pakistan is starting moving, it's because they don't want to be involved in this war. They are starting to see that probably there is gonna be a scenario in which they are involved, and they're scrambling and doing everything that they can to not getting involved, because nobody in the world wants to go into World War III. Let's face it, nobody wants World War III. Luckily, we have a population of smart people who does not want to kill everybody on the planet, okay? Luckily this, but this is a quick point. John, you answer.
I think strategically, let's say it's best for them not to join, seeing how they share borders and they're very close to each other. But for me, I think the bigger problem would be India in the situation, because if Pakistan gets involved, India might see an opening. And these countries, last year they almost got into a war. It wasn't for Trump stopping it, which Domenico would say, no, he's the one who was going to cause it. So basically, what I'm just trying to say is India as a player, a lot of people are players. Everyone's trying to stop it, but I don't think the nuclear wars will be used or warheads will be used. I don't think we're so far away from nuclear warfare that we don't even understand, because a nuclear warhead can level New York, but it cannot level can basically destroy New York, but cannot destroy California at the same time, for example, because it doesn't reach that far, and you would need a lot, and then we're so far from nuclear warfare. So you just need a madman, and sadly, the IRGC has multiple of them. Let's say. So
Only the RGC. Only the RGC.
You also have North Korea, but I mean, like, look at
okay.
Look at Putin, for example. Putin could have had 1,000 opportunities to use his nuclear warhead. He hasn't. And Ukraine is a big country. So they also are the country that they had Chernobyl in. So let's say you hit Kyiv, it might affect only still Ukraine, not in neighboring countries. So he could have used it, but he didn't. So again, a man literally labeled as a madman a couple of years ago when he invaded Ukraine hasn't used a nuclear warhead. So I don't think they will use their 170. I think they're rusted, as he said, and probably we'll need
Maybe the
restarts when
Pakistani
they.
are not that scared like the Russians or others. You never know. But I understand. I mean, definitely, nuclear warheads are a one-way uh, door decision, right? Once
And
you
I think
shoot them,
honestly, sorry to interrupt, but I think honestly, this to me showcases more of a, let's say, regional uh, intervention that might be brewing up at the moment in the Arab world. Because I think Saudi is fed up, the UAE is fed up, Qatar's fed up, Kuwait's fed up. All of them are fed up about always having to worry about Iran spending billions of defenses in Iran. Italy doesn't have to spend billions of euros in across its borders to worry about France, because France will not attack Italy anytime soon. So I think getting rid of the IRGC will save them billions over the long term. It's a business case, let's say, that they are simulating and checking. Of course, you will have civilian casualties, but it's something that they have to take into consideration, because the money they spend on defense, you can spend it somewhere else.
it might be true, but what I'm saying is like then why they haven't decided to join right away, and that is something that you could have put a little bit more emphasis or stronger motivation behind the decision of Israel and the US to launch the military operation. Imagine that the day after Khamenei, the supreme leader, died, then all the other countries in the Gulf region would have joined the United States and Israel. I think right now we would not be talking about the same situation in the same way. It would be basically a one-sided regional war against one single player, and so people will look at it differently. They don't do it, and I think probably because they do not really believe that's the solution. A fully fledged war against Iran, like complete devastation and defeat for the Iran population, country, and so on and so forth. I think they were really kind of hoping the same as the US. Let's get rid of it. Let's hope for people insurgents. Let's hope that people take over and redefine the regime. That's also probably what they were thinking about. I don't know, to be honest. Go for it, Zio.
No, yeah, I was saying, do you guys have any new topics you want to discuss about?
I think
Something.
we covered basically all, right?
I would just like to mention the fact that I think maybe they're waiting, because right now they destroyed 70% of their infrastructure for missile launchers. I think they're waiting for a big higher for a larger number, higher percentage, let's say, before joining. And hopefully they don't join, but they're also waiting to just to see what's going on, get the values, get the numbers, get the assurance, and then maybe they do like some people did at the end of World War II, which is joined in the last couple of days to make sure that everything is destroyed.
Could
So
be, could
basically,
be.
you do that, and then you join at the end. You say we joined, we helped you, etc., and you reap the benefits towards the end. I think that's what Europe is banking on. I think a lot of countries that's what they're banking on. But I think it might come too late, because I don't agree that the US is pressured, but I would say that eventually the markets and everything, and even the European Union might want to start talking to Trump. Like, please stop, and then he will have leverage over them. Because I think energy-wise, I think the US has a lot of reserves. Honestly, I think they can sustain longer than the EU can.
Except that they need to remove the sanction on the country with which they are at war. But yeah, they can do everything, John. They can see everything. They do everything.
I think it's a fair point, right? It summarizes what possibly could happen tomorrow. And this leaves us with only one thing left to do, guys. We're gonna probably reconvene in 2 or 3 weeks' time and see how the situation evolves. We're gonna keep on monitoring it, and then maybe at the end of it, we'll see who was right from the start, or who was not. That's what I would say. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Guys, thank you so much. That was a great episode, and I'll see you soon.
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. See you
Yeah.
soon. Oh, subscribe, people. Subscribe. We need your subscription, okay?
It's true.
Click the
You
button.
must
Click
do
the
it.
button.
Yes, yes. And put like and share
Yeah.
it and activate the bell and do everything you can. Like
Write down who you think is right. Write down who you think is right. Me,
True,
Domenico,
also,
Eugenio.
Exactly. Cool, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great
Thank you.
evening. Bye.
You as
Bye.
well. Bye bye. Bye bye.